Hey gardener, you're listening to the Community Garden Podcast. I'm your host, Taylor. In this space, we'll dig into the dirt with local gardeners of all skill levels to share tips, tricks, and stories from our gardening adventures. Let's get growing. Hello, gardeners. Taylor here. I feel like you haven't heard my voice in a while. We kind of went AWOL there. Things have just been really hectic. We finally have the greenhouse going, which I talk more about at the end of this podcast episode. So stay tuned so you can hear more about our community greenhouse. Yeah, things have just been a little bit hectic. It's the beginning of the gardening season for us. So just bear with us. We'll continue pumping out really cool podcast episodes. Today, I speak with a new volunteer to Eagle Ground, Samantha, who has just moved to Brantford from Hamilton. For non-local folks, they are about 30 minutes apart, so it's really not too much of a difference. However, if you're familiar with the Great Lakes, Brantford is near one Great Lake and Hamilton is near another, so the climates are a little bit different, which is ironic. So Samantha and I chat about a lot of fun things, including foraging, medicinal plants, engaging kiddos in nature. We also talk about some fun local places to experience nature. So if you're in the area, I've put some of those places in the show notes and you can go check them out. This episode was really fun. I'm also so grateful to Sam for her patience when we first sat down to record this interview. We had some technological issues and she waited around for me longer than I would have. So Samantha, thank you. Anyways, we're going to dive right in. Be sure to check out the show notes again. There's some fun stuff in here, the communitygardenpodcast.ca. Okay, let's dig in. Sam, welcome. I'm so glad that we were able to make this work on this Tuesday. It's a little bit gloomy outside, but spring is in the air. You can feel it.
Yes, I'm so excited. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So I'm going to ask that you just dive right in. I would love to hear a little bit about who you are, where you're located, and what your involvement is in the gardening world.
So I just joined the community garden in hopes to have a little bit more space to garden. I just moved from Hamilton, so I live here in Brantford now. A little bit of a different zone. So it's a 6B in Hamilton. It's a 6A here, a little bit harsher.
I think we have been dropped down to 6B as well.
Oh, really?
So
okay.
I noticed that Hamilton, the lake effects are a little bit different because most of our effect comes off of Lake Erie. But
yeah,
Brantford,
it's a little bit colder.
Yeah, Brantford itself is in a little bubble. We get a lot of the harsh weather. The harsh weather misses us. So it'll hit the surrounding towns. But sometimes you'll see storms on the north side of town and you'll see them scraping around us. It's really strange. How long have you been here?
I moved here in November, the very end of November.
Oh, so this will be your first season here. That's so exciting. Yeah. So what type of gardening did you get into? Any organizations in Hamilton?
No organizations. I lived with my parents, so we had a little bit of a yard. I had enough room to grow pumpkins, so that was pretty awesome. I was successful last year. This year, I don't think I'll be doing much pumpkin growing. I think
they take up a lot of space.
Yes, they do. I'm more so into herbs this year. One thing I do love to garden, though, are potatoes. So
so much
I'm looking forward to that. Yeah.
What is your preferred method for the potatoes?
I like doing them in a pot. So I just a big pot and just throw them right in there. And then I like to dump it and dig them all out.
Yeah, me too. I'll do them in grow bags. It makes it so easy to harvest them instead of putting them in the ground or in a bed.
Yes.
So the space that you're in right now, are you planning a garden for 2025? And is it in garden beds? Is it in the ground? Is it in pots?
Not currently, but I am planning to hopefully get some kind of little greenhouse. I'd like a little, just to have my own space. It's a shared apartment, so yeah.
That'd be really great. There's PV Mart is closing and they have a couple of their mini greenhouses on sale right now.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, I should check that out.
So what is the plan to keep in the greenhouse? I know you had mentioned houseplants when we were planning this. Is that something that you're intending to use the greenhouse for?
Well, I think for the greenhouse, I just want to keep the herbs. It's kind of like a separate thing for me. My houseplants are part of the home. I don't like bringing them outside. I get a little bit weary.
Yes,
I don't want any pests or anything.
Yeah, I know. So. Then you bring them in at the end of the season. They've got mealybugs.
Yeah,
Okay.
I don't like that, but
That's fair. Okay, let's do houseplants first because I also am a big houseplant person and we haven't really
awesome.
spoken about houseplants on the podcast. So maybe we can have a
Ooh,
quick chat about those. So I currently own like probably around 100 ebbs and flows. And I have a mini greenhouse in my house too that I put some of my higher needs houseplants in. But I would love to hear what you are keeping and what some of your favorites are.
that's awesome. So I did have a lot more than I have now. Some didn't really make it through the move, but I do have my favorite is a Monstera.
Oh, yeah.
I've
Can't
had
go
it
wrong.
for 2 years and she's growing really beautifully. I have a Hoya, which I love. It's a great vine for the kitchen.
Hmm.
A heart leaf plant, which again, beautiful, really great for the air quality. I
Hmm.
love it. Spider plants, rubber plants, silver inch plants. I think that's also one of my favorites because it's a climber.
I can't keep these alive either. The issue is they grow so fast and their water
Yes.
needs are really, really high. I can't keep high water need plants because I just don't have the capacity to water them 3 times a week. Like even I just did a big water for my plants yesterday, and honestly it'd probably been like 2.5 weeks. And for anyone who grows house plants this time of year, they really start to take off again and they need more water. Honestly, some of them were they're not doing well. So inch plants, they always end up getting tossed for me. They always
It
end
is
up dying.
hard. It is. Mine probably don't grow as fast as some would like them to because I don't water them quite as often as you
You
should.
slow them down.
Yes, I do. I do slow them down, but they're doing well. They're doing well enough. So
You know what I was thinking of? I was thinking of nerve plants. That's what I was thinking of. I don't know
oh,
if you're familiar, but they're very, very finicky and they have high humidity needs, and
yeah.
I don't have time for the picky plants. I used to once upon a time. I probably have kept houseplants now 5 or 6 years. And when I first started, I really went gung ho for the plants that had high needs, and I could get really specific and detailed about it. Now I'm just like, I don't have time.
I totally agree. I will keep what keeps itself.
Yes, yes, yes. Low maintenance, right? I'm a low
Yes.
maintenance garden girl.
My Monstera is probably the most high maintenance, but I wouldn't even consider it that. I think I've trained it pretty well to be okay. It grew up with me in a basement apartment,
Oh yeah.
and now it's a little bit less humid, I'd say. So, I mean, it's okay. I spray it every once in a while, but other than that, it's doing pretty well. So,
Nice. Good stuff. That's
yeah.
awesome. Yeah, houseplants are lovely, and all the ones that you listed for folks who are listening, if you're wanting to get into houseplants, it's really not that hard. The whole I don't have a green thumb, that isn't real. I
No,
promise. Just go to a nursery. If you know any of the ones that Samantha just listed are going to be really helpful, and I can put the list in the show notes. Or you can walk into a nursery, you can ask the staff for a low maintenance houseplant, and they'll be able to point you the right direction. Just put them in a sunny area somewhere. Make sure they're getting water regularly, and I promise you'll succeed.
yeah, I would suggest a dragon fruit plant. I've had mine
So
for years,
fun.
since
Yes.
2018, and it's grown babies, and I have a bunch of them now.
They're so hard to kill. I've had mine for a few years now, and this thing has been like shoved into the back of corners, and they're
Yes,
kind of almost like a succulent where like they can take the water, but they also don't need the water as much.
exactly.
But yeah, that's probably definitely one of my easiest in my collection.
Have you gotten any fruit off of yours?
No, but
Me either.
something started recently when I did my water yesterday, and I checked on everybody. There's like a shoot that has come up that I've never seen
Oh,
before. So I'm going to keep an eye on it. I imagine it's not going to be successful. We actually, Equal Ground just, fun fact for folks listening, this is the first time I've mentioned this, but our greenhouse is just about done. It's located at Woodman Park here in town. And so I might actually move the plant to the greenhouse, and it might have a fighting chance for a potential dragon fruit. But in the situation that's in right now, it's in like a mini greenhouse. Apologies, that's my dog. It's in like a mini greenhouse, and it would never be able to bear fruit in the situation it's in. But if I might end up moving it to the actual Equal Ground greenhouse.
I would love to see that through. I'd love to be a part of that greenhouse too. I think
Oh
that'd be
yeah.
awesome.
Oh yeah. We got some information coming in the next few weeks. We're just waiting on the final building permit inspection, and then we'll probably get things started. We're just waiting on water, if I'm being honest with you. That's the only thing that's holding us back. So I might start some fun things just with my little backpack water, but we can't do anything substantial until we have actual water access there, which hopefully we'll have in the next few weeks. So,
Awesome.
yeah. So, okay, backtracking a bit, let's revisit herbs. Which herbs do you like to grow and why?
I really am hoping to grow some rosemary,
Mm.
parsley, thyme, sage, fennel, any of the ones you can make some teas with.
Oh, yeah. Maybe some chamomile, some mint.
Yeah.
Yeah, good stuff. My only recommendation to you is if you haven't grown this before is do not plant fennel with anything else within the same pot.
Yes, they are very invasive like that.
Perfect. They release a chemical that will kill all plants in the area. So that's
Yeah.
only if they're like in the same pot. But for folks listening, if you're growing fennel and you're wondering why your garden's dying, you need to move the fennel.
They have a pretty strong scent too.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, maybe good for the pests, but you want to keep it away from the rest of the vegetables. So you mentioned when booking that you do have a little one that you like to engage in the garden. What types of activities do you guys enjoy doing when in the garden or when in green space in general?
Well, he really loves exploring, so
Aw.
finding a new plant to identify is like finding treasure to him.
Oh my goodness.
So if a plant intrigues him, I use my identification app
Mhm.
and we learn about the medicinal properties and the symbolism, and the plant gives him, I'm hoping it gives him a way to carry forward this knowledge into the world where so many people have lost touch with our roots, literally.
Mhm.
So
Yeah, literally. What plant identification app are you using?
I use an app called Picture This.
Yeah.
So it's specifically for plants. It has so much information on conditions, characteristics, symbolism, interesting facts. It tells you how the plant was found and named, and you can even diagnose your house plants or your plants outside and get advice on how to help it get better. So, yeah, all you really need to do is take a picture of it, and it's really helpful.
That's amazing. I love that. So you mentioned that you and it was your son, right?
Yeah.
You guys go out exploring. Since moving to Brantford, have you had a chance to explore any of the trails or anything like that?
Not too much yet. It's been a little bit cold, but we did attempt to go metal detecting the other day, so
That's so cool. I live along the river, and one of my favorite places to go in the city is Wilkes Dam. And when you go to the dam, if you start walking along like the main trail, it's a bit, you'll see it. There's a staircase that leads you down to the riverbank, and there's this really, really beautiful trail through the forest along the side of the river. So nice. It's one of I bring the dogs there all the time. They'll go swimming in the river, and there's just tons. Like you're in the middle of the forest, so there's lots to look at and see and do. And then there's this little side trail. It's been a couple years since I've done this, but in the spring, like in April, I'd have to figure out what specific timeline. If I figure it out, I'll message you. But you can follow this particular trail. If you just keep going left, you end up being surrounded by like millions of caterpillars. And they're
oh
up
my
in the
gosh.
trees and they're releasing these little like wispies in the wind. So it almost feels like there's little
Magic.
spider webs like touching your face. And if you
Yeah.
listen, you can hear them like chewing on the leaves.
Oh,
It's
wow.
so cool. It's like
That's first on my bucket list,
it's one of the
when the
most
nice weather hits.
I just like randomly stumbled in there one day. I was by myself with my dogs and I'm like, what is going on? And then since then I've brought every person that I can like back. I couldn't
Oh
find
my
them last year
gosh.
though. I don't know if I had the timing wrong last year, but I'll see if I can figure out the caterpillar situation out there and I'll send you a message.
I'm definitely going there.
That's so much fun. There's a lot of really, really great trails and parks and places, green space to access. Now, that being said, you are from Hamilton, and Hamilton also has some really wonderful spaces. So there's lots to explore all the time.
Waterfall capital. There are
Oh,
so many, like
so nice.
160 something.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you have any tips for folks who want to get more into nature or more into identifying plants or getting their kiddos outside? It seems like you kind of got it down pat.
I would just really suggest to use so much curiosity and even just do a quick Google search on the benefits of any particular plant or herb after you identify it and use it accordingly. Like start using the things that you find. It's so fulfilling. Like it's such a nice feeling to know that things about the earth that you're on and you're okay. Like you don't need somebody else to do it for you, or
Hmm.
you know what I mean? It's just like the best feeling in the world and it really grounds you.
That's incredible. Do you have any medicinal plant favorites?
So I specifically first that comes to mind, it's parsley. It's awesome for teas, and I drank a bunch of it after having a few spells of kidney stones last year. So that really helped my problem. And aside from that, just bathing with herbs is another really awesome way to benefit from the healing properties. Like rosemary, for example, in the bath is really good for muscles and energy, and it boosts circulation a lot. So yeah, I mean, even just depending on the day, you can do your research and see what will help and use some of it. And
Mm-hmm.
that's kind of what I live by. So,
That's incredible. I grew lemongrass last year for the first time,
oh, I love it.
at the request of a friend who loves lemongrass tea. Oh man, when you're growing things specifically for those purposes, it just brings you so much closer to your garden or your green space, whatever it is you're working in.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, do you do any like foraging or anything like that?
I do. I really enjoy doing that with my son mostly. I've kind of taught him the rule to only take a small percentage of what's there. Take no more than one third of what you see, and there'll be plenty for the years to come.
Absolutely. Is there anything in particular that you enjoy foraging?
Nothing in particular, just anything like I said, like doing my research, identifying these things. I'll see certain things and I'll read about it and I'll be like, "Oh, this is helpful. This benefits in some way." And I'll make sure it's the right thing and I'll take some of it home and use it. And it's been awesome so far. So,
I love that.
yeah.
Another little fun foraging tip for Brantford, back in behind Waterworks Park, behind the bike park, it's like the Rotary Bike Park and the end of Grand River Ave. There's paths that are ironically on the opposite side of the forest path that I just told you about. And if you go back in there, I don't know what season it would be. June? Maybe June? Black raspberries everywhere.
Oh, that's awesome.
And it's so fun because you can actually see where people have come through to start foraging them because there's little like imprints in like the brambles, and they just are so prolific here. They just keep spreading and spreading and spreading, and they're everywhere. And they're so tasty. They're so good. They are very prickly though. They do have thorns, so you'd have to be careful. But if you enjoy foraging and you wanted to like explore a new space, that would be something fun too.
That's awesome. Yeah, I've been wondering where I'm gonna go this year. So it's fun that I get to explore some new places.
Hmm. Yeah, there's lots of good stuff in the area. It's just whether or not you're looking for something specific, right?
Yeah.
So you mentioned that you may have a greenhouse in your home. I'm just wondering if you had any other like green space plans, any house plants that you want to add to your collection, anything like that.
I have quite a few houseplants on the list. Peace lily is one of them.
Oh
I really just love having like plants that help the air, but
yeah. Hmm.
also making sure that they're appropriate for my cat because
Yes.
some people may not know certain plants are not great for certain animals. So,
Yes, absolutely.
yeah, gonna have to do some more research there.
Hey friends, I really wanted to provide you a list of plants that were toxic to pets. But when I pulled up the list from the ASPCA, it's over 1,000 plants. So I'm not going to do that. Now, what I will say is like 90% of typical houseplants that you're able to purchase are toxic to pets. Now, in some households, this isn't an issue. Your pets have absolutely no interest in plants. Maybe your plants are tucked away. Cats, however, can be a little trickier. If you own a cat, you know what I'm talking about. So please, before you purchase a plant, before you put a plant in your home, be sure to research if that plant is going to harm your pet and if it's a suitable option for your space. That being said, if you suspect that if you suspect that your pet has ingested a toxic plant, usually symptoms are like drooling, face itching, eye watering. Most of these plants have a toxin in them that is severely irritating to the mouth and the esophagus and the GI tract. If you suspect that your plant hasn't, oh my goodness, if you suspect that your pet has ingested any of this plant matter, I really, really, really recommend you take them to the vet. Not good. Not good at all. And the vet will be able to help you. So again, I'm going to put this list in the show notes. You can take a peek. There's a list of toxic and non-toxic plants that you can take a look at and just maybe do a quick research before you purchase.
And I'm gonna assume I will have double the amount of houseplants by the end of the season.
Oh, I love that. That'll be so much fun. I know it's such a like an easy hole to fall into.
Yes.
There's a lot of great like greenhouses and plant shops in the area too. I'll put a couple of them in the show notes for folks listening if you wanted to check them out this season. It's almost greenhouse season. I love when I see the little like temporary garden spaces pop up at the grocery stores and stuff. I can
Oh
see they're
yeah.
starting to drop off all of this steel that's used to make the garden spaces. Oh, it gets me so excited.
I'm hoping to get some ferns for out front. Our front yard doesn't have as much light as I wish it did.
Hmm.
So I'm gonna get some nice ferns for out front. I like keeping those outside during the nice season.
Oh yeah, they add such nice charm and character, right?
Yes.
So I have a couple of questions for you that is specific about your green space, your gardening experience, if you're down for that.
Sure. Yeah.
Before we get into it, have you ever vegetable gardened, like gardened for food specifically?
I have. I've done a little bit of vegetable gardening, mostly fruit gardening, but
Nice.
I do really like trying to grow lettuce. It's not quite as easy for me for some reason.
Probably have like bunnies or something in the area.
Yes, exactly. Um,
You'll definitely have to join us at the greenhouse and community gardens this year. And yeah, we'll have to get you more into some of the vegetables.
I would be so excited too. I honestly, the one thing that I've been waiting for is a greenhouse space to do it because, yeah, like you said, the animals are gonna take what they can get. So
Absolutely. We got to share the earth.
cauliflower is fun to grow.
Oh, I know.
I
Especially when it's
really love,
successful.
yes, exactly. I really love, like I said, potatoes. That's just the most fun to harvest ever. I've done that a bunch of times now. Right now, I'm growing some carrots on my windowsill. So they are,
Ooh.
yeah, they're starting to get some greenery on top. So I'm going to be able to put those outside eventually. So that'll be really fun.
Oh, that sounds like so much fun. Okay,
Yeah.
what is one thing you dislike about gardening, house plants, the plant world?
One thing I dislike about gardening is any possible letdown. When a plant doesn't make it or you can't get that harvest that you were waiting all season for, it's a really tough letdown.
It's like a stab in the heart.
Yeah,
Especially if you have like small space, like limited real
exactly.
estate. Do you have any like goals for your garden, green space, house plants, anything like that this year?
To get more
Get more
and
plants.
to get a little greenhouse. Those
Oh,
are my goals.
it's a good. You have to go to PB Mart.
Yes.
What is your favorite vegetable to eat?
I would say I have to choose not one, but two, which are corn and cabbage.
Yum, corn is easy to grow, but it needs a
Yes,
big space.
exactly.
It
I'm
needs a
bringing it to
big
the
space.
greenhouse.
Oh, I love that. I feel like I know the answer to this, but what's your favorite vegetable to grow?
Potatoes.
Potatoes. I really like growing potatoes too. Those are
Sweet
definitely
potatoes
up there.
too. Sweet potatoes are awesome too.
Do you like start the slips yourself?
No, I don't.
Do you purchase them?
I do. I did have so you know how they just start growing in your the back of your cupboard?
Yes.
So I have transferred that into a garden bed with a sweet potato and it's very successful and I really love the way the vines look. So honestly, you could even
Beautiful.
keep them as a nice house plant
Yes.
sometimes.
And I believe
Yeah.
they are kept as a houseplant too. I'd have to look into
Yeah.
that. Yeah, so much
They're a
fun.
species of nightshade, I believe. So
Hmm.
they do have flowers on them a certain time of the season. It's really beautiful.
Yeah, I know they're gorgeous. Hi, I wanted to leave a quick note here about what sweet potato slips were. Now, you ever have a potato and maybe you left it in your cupboard too long and it's springtime, and even though it's buried in the back of your cupboard, it knows it's springtime, and suddenly there's like sprouts coming up from it. So, sweet potato, I'm going to put a picture in the show notes. A sweet potato plant produces slips that like have full foliage on them. You can actually stick a sweet potato in a half filled jar of water and it'll produce the slips for you. You're able to pop them off the potato, put them in water, and then those slips will grow roots. And then you would go put those in your garden. Now, just like a word of caution, 2 years ago, We hosted little gardeners at Brant Community Gardens, and the kids really just wanted to plant full sweet potatoes. And I thought, you know what? This is going to be a good experiment. We have nothing to lose. We did lose, but it was fine. The sweet potatoes, like, yeah, slips produced, but because they were still attached to the sweet potatoes, we did not get sweet potatoes. So make sure you're popping the slips off the sweet potatoes and you're putting them in water to sprout roots. Should take a week or two, and then you can turn around and you plant those in your garden. Okay, good luck. What's a vegetable you do not like to eat?
Mushrooms.
Oh, is that considered a
Yeah.
vegetable? Are mushrooms a
I
vegetable?
I think I was kind of looking into this because I was like, is mushroom like, 'cause it's a fungi, but it said that was in the other category. So
Yeah, close enough for me. Okay, I looked up if mushrooms are vegetables, and Sam's right. There are just like mixed signals everywhere. They're not a plant, they're not an animal, they're a fungi, which, cool. Some articles do follow them as a vegetable because of their nutritional content, others don't. So, yeah, culinary purposes, yeah, biologically, no, it's a vegetable to us. And my last question for you is, what's one thing that you struggle with either in the garden or elsewhere?
mostly just space. I'd like a bunch of room to make my gardening dreams come true. So I need some land.
Yeah, I feel that pain. You get pretty good at urban gardening, container gardening when you're stuck in small
Exactly.
spaces, right?
Yep. But I need more room inside for my houseplants. So I need some room
Oh,
outside for the other stuff.
yeah, you got to start going vertical. I will say I felt almost like I had too many houseplants. There was a moment where I was like, okay, we're headed in the direction of jungle, and it started to feel
Yes.
super overwhelming. So we were gifted, I'm going to put a picture in the show notes. We were gifted a really beautiful china cabinet. It needed to be redone. It was like a dark cherry wood with a really thick varnish on it. So we stripped it down to the original cherry wood and finished it and sealed the inside of it. And the top half of it is a really big, it's probably 5 feet by 4 feet. And it's like a glass case, and then the bottom half is like a buffet, like it's just storage. So we sealed the glass case, and I put in a bunch of grow lights, and I was able to put a lot of my small plants in there and like kind of get them out of the way. And then it provides some cool lighting in the evening. So I was able to get my plants up in like a vertical system and away from me, and I felt like immediately like they were just put away. They had a home now, and now I don't feel as overwhelmed.
That's so awesome. I love that, first of all, you refinished it and did all that. I'm so into that. And I have actually a cabinet I'm looking at right now that has glass windows, and I am thinking I might copy your idea.
It was a, don't get me wrong, it was a lot of work. This particular project is like a family china cabinet. I agreed to take it on the condition that I could refinish it. And would we do it again? I don't know. But it was so rewarding to see that work done. Now, I did seal the inside, but I also placed a bunch of humidity meters inside just to make sure that like we weren't going to ruin the wood, because as you probably know, you put a bunch of tropical plants in like a sealed environment and it's going to get humid really quick,
It's gonna be
especially in
like
the
a
summer.
jungle in there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so I've been able to monitor the humidity, and I do less watering for my houseplants than I probably should. And as long as I don't overwater them, the humidity usually stays around 60%. So
One thing I can also suggest for anyone listening, and even maybe yourself, I just got this year a pH, light, and moistness probe. So
oh,
it monitors
cool.
all those things, and it's been
Yeah,
really helpful. Yeah,
maybe I'll have to see which one you got, and I can put that in the show notes too.
absolutely. Yeah.
pH, just writing this down so I don't forget. Wonderful. I mean, that's all my questions for you. I'm curious if there's anything that you are interested in hearing about from Equal Ground, or if there's anything that you wanted to add.
I'd love to hear anything you have to say about this new greenhouse. I'm really interested in it. And I think it's awesome for people like me who don't have a bunch of room to do the gardening at home. So,
Yeah, I think this is a great idea. So, many of the folks listening probably have a bit of a background on Equal Ground. And for folks listening, if you need a refresher, if you go back to the very first episode that we released, it's a 20-minute intro on the organization and also a bit of information on myself. So that can give you a bit of background on who the organization is and what we do. And you can also visit the show notes page, which is the communitygardenpodcast.ca, and that connects directly to our main website. There's lots of info on there. Now, this project has been 3 years in the making. It has been a very long project for just a greenhouse. However, we are very grateful to be in the position that we're in now and actually finally see it be built. It's pretty much done now. Again, we're just waiting on that final inspection. So the idea behind the greenhouse is to provide a space to teach people to grow their own food. And it's located at Woodman Park Community Centre in Brantford, Ontario. It's at a youth hub. There's an elementary school. There's a brand new subdivision that has a lot of folks who are new to Canada. It's just in a really great area. There's Friendship House across the road, which is a organization that does a lot of social services. There's also hospice just down the road. So there's a lot of really great collaboration options in the area. And the greenhouse is accompanied by a 60-bed community garden. It equates to about 2,000 square feet of growing space. And then we also there's 35 fruit trees and 60 fruit bushes. We've got everything from currants to blueberries, raspberries, blackberries, pear trees, plum, apple, peach. And then also we put in 3 pawpaw trees. Do you know what pawpaws are?
No, I don't.
Oh, I'm going to put an article in the show notes for folks to see.
Please.
Pawpaws are native to southern Ontario, and they're very significant to our Indigenous neighbours. And the trees are very special, and they produce an amazing fruit that's only ripe for 2 days. And
Okay.
it looks like a mango, and it tastes, if you mix like banana, mango, and like vanilla pudding. It is, if you ever have the chance to try pawpaw, do not pass it up. It's incredible. So we received this grant from Tree Canada to put all of these fruit trees in, and we were able to designate a little bit of money to go towards putting 3 pawpaw trees in. So I
think that's so
excited.
awesome for so many communities. That's just, yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah,
I love that.
I'm stoked. So the garden itself is entirely accessible, which we've never really had before, especially considering most of our gardens are on city property. We're working on bringing them all up to date so that they are fully accessible, but this is the first one that is fully accessible. So the greenhouse itself, I don't know what the schedule is going to be like yet, but if there is an Equal Ground executive volunteer there, the greenhouse is open. We'll open all the doors and anyone's welcome to come in anytime, whether it's we're hosting a class or a workshop or we're just in there working. So the greenhouse, it may grow food throughout the season, but it's benches. It's not like growing on the ground. Yeah. So a lot of it will be like starting seedlings. I have lots of tropical plants that I want to put in there and trellis them and string them all up because the inside is like steel. There's big steel like beams and stuff like that. So we're able to string things around. I have a fig tree that I'm going to bring. I've been eyeballing picking up like a pineapple plant. I haven't picked up a pineapple plant yet, but I want to, and I want to just see what fun things we can get growing in the space. So it's going to be difficult to grow actual food in July and August because it's going to be really, really hot in there, and a lot of plants won't tolerate that heat, but there's a lot of fun things that we can still do during those times.
It's going to be so informative and just so amazing for a sustainable future and just all the knowledge and learning that even young kids might be able to do and carry forward. So I really love that idea.
Yeah, we're really excited. Ideally, I'll have operating hours. So I haven't sorted this out yet. Again, we're just waiting on the greenhouse to be wrapped up. And we're also working with the community center to make sure that our opening hours are going to align with youth activities as well. So we'll probably be open for a set amount of hours each week. And then I'll also do a lot of drop-ins. Oh, I'm going to go to the greenhouse for a few hours. Anyone's welcome to join me. So folks who live in the Brant County area in Ontario, this is something that you're interested in. I do recommend you follow us on social media or you shoot me an email and I'll add you to my notice list. And there are folks that I'll be sending out just quick notes about the greenhouse too, including Samantha. And then you can join me when you need to. I'm excited for you to join us. And if you have any ideas on what it is you'd like to learn, or maybe you want to teach something.
Oh my gosh, what a dream.
Yeah, come talk to me. It's the dream's there.
I love that.
The dream is there. And I do want to do some tropical plant stuff too, because why not?
Yes, I'm so down for that.
Yeah, good stuff. Okay, I'm so grateful that you, first of all, you had a little bit of patience while we sorted out our kinks this morning, but also that you were willing to sit down and chat with me. And I'm really looking forward to meeting you in person and welcoming you into the greenhouse.
I'm so excited. Yes. Thank you so much for having me. And I love chatting with you.
This is awesome. Sam, thank you so much for sitting down with me. I'm so grateful that you gave us your time and talked to us about your experience foraging and looking into medicinal plants and some fun plant identifications, which I will put the link to a couple of identifiers in the show notes. If you have Chrome on your phone or like Google on your phone, Google Lens is a really, really great option for identifying plants as well. It searches the web for information and matches up the pictures, and I've had a really good experience, at least getting me started with Google Lens. So you can use that as well instead of downloading an app if you wanted. Friends who are listening to this around release day, I just want to remind you, it is the end of March. If you have not already, please, 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 please start your seedlings if you live in Southern Ontario or something similar. Like we're a little late for the peppers and the tomatoes, but I believe in you. If you get them started right now, they're going to grow into strong, healthy plants. And then everything else you're going to want to start in the next couple of weeks, depending on your growing situation. So just a reminder, if you've been putting it off like I have, go start your plants. After this, I have to go start some seeds because I've been pushing it off for 2 weeks. Okay. Thank you again to the City of Brantford and the Brant Community Foundation for funding this podcast. And also a big thank you to our board of directors for letting me run with this project. Just a little side note, we do have a spot open on our board of directors if you're interested in getting involved with Equal Ground on the back end and you maybe wanted to join us on the administrative side, shoot us an email, podcast@egcgbrant.ca, and I'd love to give you some more information. The podcast is administered by Equal Ground Community Gardens, and you can view this episode show notes at the communitygardenpodcast.ca. Podcast production and editing is by Matt Wilfred at Nuthatch Consulting, and you can get in touch with Matt at nuthatchconsulting@gmail.com. And our graphic design is done by Ben at All Day Breakfast. Thank you to our lovely podcast committee, Paulina, Charlene, and Kat, for all of your hard work. I'm so grateful. And if you could please consider following, subscribing, rating, reviewing, doing whatever it is that your podcast platform allows you to do, it really helps us reach more people. And you can follow Equal Ground on Facebook at Equal Ground Community Gardens, and you can also join our Facebook support group at the same name. You can find us on Instagram at equal_ground, and you can learn more about our organization at www.egcgbrant.ca. And finally, if you'd like to be a guest on the podcast, I would love to have you. And you can email me at podcast@egcgbrant.ca, or you can visit the show notes page at the communitygardenpodcast.ca. Okay, friends, by the time you hear my voice again, I really hope you started your plants. I really hope I've started mine too. Okay, bye.